The Admech release is finally here, heavy Intercessors and flayed ones are appearing, and Lilith Hesperax is also seeing an individual release. It's going to be quite a hefty one for 40k this week. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're here to talk about all the things that are coming out for 40k this weekend. It seems that the 40k pre-orders are really returning in force, and it feels like they're playing catch-up with multiple weeks' releases stacked on top of each other. The biggest news is that Codex Admech is finally coming out. This one's been teased for really quite a long time, and I'm sure that Admech players are going to be happy to no longer have to play the waiting game. Otherwise though, as I said, they're also releasing heavy Intercessors and flayed ones, a Gravis Captain and a Chronomancer, Lilith Hesperax, and a few other bits and bobs as well. We'll start with the Admech, then we'll talk about the rest. So the Admech Codex has been quite long awaited now. It was promised for April, but now only seems to be going up for pre-order on the 23rd of May due to Games Workshop's distribution problems. The Codex should be £30 or $50. Apparently it's 120 pages long, and it will of course contain all the new content that we've seen previewed, multiple changes to datasheets such as 2+ save cast from breaches, far better shooting on rangers, interesting arc weapons, and I'm sure every single rule and option will have been tweaked. I'm really looking forward to going over it in full and really diving deep into the Codex, so feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see that just as soon as I can get a review out. For new models, we have the Skitarii Marshal, certainly going to be a good foot commander for the Rangers and Vanguard, though we don't know exactly what he's going to be able to do just yet. Certainly a cool model though, nice to see another new option for the faction. I felt like this might have been the sort of thing that they might have released right from the start for those Skitarii. We've got the Combat Patrol box for Adeptus Mechanicus, which we'll get onto in a second. Red ones with a nice Mechanicus symbol on the 6 and blessedly nothing on the 1. They're certainly themed. Maybe people have been remarking that they've been just a little bit cheap and plain looking, but at least they'll be very legible and usable in game. Finally, and with another little hint of what's to come, we also have a data card release for the Admech that contains all the normal things such as stratagems, but also Doctrina Imperatives and Canticles of the Omnissiah. We already know what Canticles do, though there's nothing saying that Games Workshop might not radically change up the formula. They're turn-by-turn buffs that you can select as you go through the game. The Doctrina Imperatives, though, are just a little bit more interesting. Currently at the moment they exist as stratagems with the Admech decks, but the fact that they're being listed independently of stratagems here implies that they're going to be a bit more of a whole faction mechanic. Will certainly be interesting to see what they do. Maybe there'll be individual buffs that you can apply to certain squads. Maybe it even might be some sort of chaplain-like litany buff from that Marshal. Whatever the case, I think it's quite likely that they will be previewed sometime this week. We had already seen the Admech Combat Patrol leaked already, but that will be out as well. £85 or $140, and containing a Dune Crawler, Skitarii Rangers or Vanguard, Cataphren Servitors, and a Tech Priest Engine Seer. The discount on buying these all separately will be around about 33%, so a fairly respectable one, maybe not the most standout of the Combat Patrol boxes, but at least historically most of these units have all been pretty useful within the army list. I think it's particularly nice to have both types of troops available at a discount. Currently it's notable that the box only adds up to 20 power level, not 25, but it seems very likely that some of the choices will go up in power cost. We know that the Skitarii Rangers are getting significantly better with their firepower, and we know that both versions of Cataphrons are going to get a bit of a buff to their armour, and plus their arc weapons have been improved as well. I suspect that this is what's going to be making up for that shortfall. As before, perhaps I think that the main criticism I would have with the box is the Engine Seer over the Tech Priest Dominus. I think I would have liked to see the Dominus in the box rather than him, just because he more seems like an actual leader for the faction as opposed to the Engine Seer who's a bit of a lackey. No major gripes though, very solid units and both troops. I have a feeling that this one will be very popular with Admech players. Next we come to 5 more kits, all of which have seen released before in limited edition boxes, but now will be available separately. For the Drukhari we have Lilith Hesperax, previously seen in Piety and Pain. I'm sure a lot of people will be looking to get their hands on the new sculpt. Quite nice to have her available in plastic at the moment, even if she perhaps isn't quite cutting the mustard against the regular succubi in-game. For the Marines we have the Heavy Intercessor squad. These guys are certainly incredibly long awaited. I believe we saw them teased around about 9 months ago now. People have been theory crafting and using them in their lists for a long time, particularly Deathwatch players who need them to fill out one of their kill teams. They came out in the very unhelpful release of Kill Team Pariah Nexus, and now they're finally going to be available separately. I'm afraid I don't know the price of these guys yet. It will be interesting to see. I'm going to guess they might be similar prices to the current Intercessor boxes, maybe around £36 or $60. Might be a bit less if we're lucky, I guess we'll wait and see. For the Necrons, we finally have the plastic flayed ones released. Pretty cool, creepy models, and again a really handy one to be able to buy separately. Some Necron players are certainly theory crafting with units of 20 of these. They're quite a good choppy alternative to warriors that can make good use of reanimation protocols. Otherwise, there's also the Chronomancer and the Gravis Captain with the heavy bolt rifle, both of which are really quite nice models. In the game, I'd say the Chronomancer is by far the better of the two, perhaps one of the stronger Necron HQ choices, very cheaply and effectively giving out an invul and some reroll charges. I'd say the Gravis Captain is okay, certainly packs a little bit of range punch while he's commanding a marine gun line, but I think he's more a model that people will pick up just for the looks as opposed to the gameplay. Finally, of course, as I talked about in a lot more detail yesterday on the channel, we have these combat patrol boxes for the Necrons and the Space Marines. They weren't ones that Games Workshop had mentioned before, but it does feel fitting that they should get a combat patrol box at some point, rather than just having to buy the starter sets. The Necron one has 10 Lich Guard or Death Marks, an Overlord, 3 Tomb Blades, and a Knight or Doom Scythe, and I think in general it'll be fairly popular. I do like the way that it doesn't have much overlap with the Indomitus box or the various Warhammer 40k starter sets. You can easily buy them and also add to this, and you'll have quite a chunk of the whole Necron range. For the Marines, it's essentially start collecting Vanguard Space Marines plus an Impulsor. It remains a really good discount on buying all these kits separately, almost 50%, though you do have the downside that they're the monopose versions of the models. Besides the Impulsor, there aren't any multi-part kits. Infiltrators and Eliminators are both fairly solid. Impulsors can certainly have their uses, maybe Suppressors are a little bit underwhelming right now, but it still remains the only place where you can get these guys, so if you do want these weird jump devastators, then this is the place to get them. So overall, quite a stack of stuff that's coming out, all of which will be available for pre-order on Saturday the 22nd. As I said, really looking forward to going over the Admech release. I feel like that codex has a lot of potential just from the previews so far. If you'd like to see more regular 40k updates like this, I do try and cover the vast majority of Games Workshop's Warhammer releases on the channel, so feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more. Finally, if you would like to help support the channel, I'd just like to mention the Patreon page, which you can find down linked in the video description. Making all the content does take a fair amount of time, and if you are enjoying regularly, then any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry to the prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, then the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.